Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Good. Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. Check us out on YouTube. All our shows are over there. We're real big on community policing. Sonny, in his spare time, is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District, caps24.org. It is a pleasure to introduce you to a fellow media mogul, and I know we're both filthy rich in this business, and that is the owner of Chicago's Bulldog Media. I hope that's right, and that's Patrick Boylan.
Hi, Avi. How you doing? It's
Good.
nice to be here for the first time. Nervous for a first-time guest, as always.
Okay, well, you're very intelligent. You speak well. And what's the official name of?
Well, the Wells Park Bulldog is the online publication, and it's actually presented by a company called Next Century Distribution. So that's the legal name. But I think we talk about Next Century Distribution very rarely, except when we're getting paid. Or I have to put money into it.
Gotcha. Now, you're basically online.
We are online only. We have not done any print publications. We do have two different sites. There's a Facebook page, which does quite well. And then we also have our production site, the Wells Park Bulldog. The difference is the Wells Park Bulldog is more journalism. The production, it talks about politics and policing, schools, a lot of school stuff, both on the athletic side and on school news. And then on the Facebook side, we try and tell people stories that they want to share. So a lot of photos on the Facebook side.
Yeah, one of the things I really liked when I was looking at it, it really reminds me of a well-done traditional neighborhood newspaper that used to exist in a lot of areas.
Thank you, but they don't exist in a lot of areas anymore.
No, they don't. Basically, what we have in this neighborhood, and even though there's a good reporter here and a good reporter there that work part-time, there's no cohesive neighborhood coverage of any kind. There's no overall thought, and it's basically an excuse to get the ads they have a contract for out.
On the north side, the Pioneer Press has left the north side. That was the Chicago Sun-Times community papers that people might remember from years ago. In the last several years, they have left this market. So what we are left with basically is NADIG on the northwest side. Ron Roenick has Inside Publications, which goes up the lakefront. And then there are several online sites. We do Ravenswood. There's the Center Square Journal, which also does Ravenswood, Roscoe Village, Edgewater, and Lakeview. And then recently we've seen the Rogers Park News come up. There has been, unfortunately, some losses also in this area, especially in the last year, some significant losses that people will realize too. Chicago News Cooperative, which was Jim O'Shea's effort, he was working, he was quite well funded, he had some great journalists working with him, and unfortunately they closed down this springtime.
That really saddened me because, yeah, their output was absolutely terrific.
It was great.
They have quality people.
Yeah. So the online world is full of deaths. There's carcasses all over the place. When I was talking to you before the show, I was saying that we've lost Avil Daily, that Brad Flora is not, he has not closed, he closed Windy Citizen, but he closed it for a successful reason. He's going to, I believe it's Spot Us or Spot Now. The Chicago Independent Advertising Network, we were not part of that, but that closed up. And we also had the loss of Chicago School Wonks, which was an email which came out weekly, and that has closed up this spring. So a lot of bodies here in Chicago in this field. It is, I think, like looking for the source of the Nile. We are getting lost quite frequently.
One of the things I've noticed myself is that in the suburbs, AOL has actually hired reporters for individual cities, giving them full-time jobs at poor salaries, and try to compete with some of the suburban papers, and basically they're looking at it as a long-term investment. Whether that'll work or not, I don't know. The online thing, now most of the papers, it's easy for somebody to want to try to start an online thing, but how do you go about getting yourself known?
Well, you have to market yourself into the community. You have to spend some money on marketing. What we did initially was we put advertising on the Brown Line, that goes up through Ravenswood. That we're here, and that moved us up quite a bit. That was about a year ago, and then since then, I don't think we've done a lot of marketing. I think people know we're there, but we're not telling people. Now, I notice that Center Square Journal goes out and they tell people on the L stations with flyers and handouts that we're here. I haven't seen what other people have done, frankly, about marketing themselves. But it is a marketing question. You put money out to try and get readership back. But, of course, that's all money out. That's not how you get money back in.
Right. You know what? One of the things you also wanted to talk about, and I want to leave some time with it, is you had talked about schools, and schools is something you really like covering.
We decided to create a persona. It's not a real person. It's a person who doesn't really exist, but she is our average reader. We call her Melissa. Melissa has 2 children. She purchased her home in the Ravenswood neighborhood in 2006. And she had intended to move on from Ravenswood into Schaumburg with her children so they could get schooling. Her home is underwater. Her children have to go to the Chicago Public Schools. So out of that person, that's how we determine our editorial. And our editorial is aimed at answering Melissa's problems. Her problems are she has to send her children to Chicago Public Schools, which we know are troubled, and she has real estate issues with a house that's underwater.
Wow.
So that's it. That's how we cook our editorial. We look at Melissa.
And Melissa doesn't sound like she's doing real good.
She's probably doing okay in Ravenswood. We have some of the best schools in the city and the state in Ravenswood with Bell, Coonley, Blaine, and the schools. I don't want to. Let's not list all of them because there's like 13. Yeah, I'll forget somebody.
I've done that too. I put my foot in my mouth by not mentioning things. Yeah.
There's also some schools which need to come up, but they're not bad schools at all. So we have been concentrating on schools in our editorial. The real estate, frankly, we haven't looked at the real estate issue yet. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different story. As a matter of fact. We don't have a ton of time for that, but in terms of the schools themselves, I mean, do you find that the parents, pick up on the fact that you're reporting on their schools and all that?
Definitely, yeah. The Center Square Journal did a story. Now, they're our competition. They did a story earlier this spring that in 2010, when people were running for LSC, some of them won with as few as 4 or 5 votes. That didn't happen this year. Center Square Journal and our publication, the Wells Park Bulldog, concentrated on schools as the election came up. I am a partisan, and I think we did a better job. But the combination led to hundreds of people voting in the LSC elections. I was at Trumbull, and there were more than 230 votes, I believe, by the losing candidate. And I was also at Amundsen, and it was about the same. That's a lot of interest for a candidate who didn't even win. Now, these people control hundreds of thousands of dollars in spending. I don't think people realize that. And they also control the hiring and firing of the principal. And the principal sends the message through the school. This is how we're going to work with parents, the community, the students. If that principal can be a disaster for the schools. And we'll probably take a harder look at principals as this year goes on because we want to look at their contract renewals.
Yeah, I've had mixed feelings on the subject sometimes because I've had principals at the schools that will put out flyers for the various neighborhood and community organizations I'm for, but the parents hate them on the academic level, which is probably slightly more important, if not totally paramount. In any event, so if people want to check you out online,
WellsParkBulldog.com, and Wells is spelled W-E-L-L-E-S, the name of the neighborhood park at Western Avenue in Montrose.
And give us an idea of what the boundaries of the neighborhood are.
Ravenswood, generally. We try not to draw boundaries anymore, but let's say California Avenue to Ashland or Clark, and roughly from Roscoe Village north to about I don't know, north of Foster someplace. So we take in Bowmanville, we take in some of the Bend.
Yeah.
We sort of skirt around Andersonville. and taken some of that.
Yeah, I used to have my business there, as a matter of fact, for a few years in the 80s. But
It's a wealthy area. You have the Attorney General, you got the mayor, you have the former governor.
right.
You know, all their homes are in there. A lot of powerful people, and it's still with the governor spending his time in Colorado these days, the former governor. There's still a lot of powerful people in that neighborhood with kids in school.
And I want to say hi to Jane Rickard, who accompanied you, and thanks to Sonny Hirsch, my entire technical crew, and I really appreciate your coming here today on such short notice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Avi. Glad to do it.
Be well.